What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video. So I am super excited about the video today. As you can tell by the title, we are going to be talking to Candy, or Hungry Fat Chick, and I'm one, just really happy and really grateful that Candy agreed to have a conversation with me. And two, I kind of wanted to let you guys know, this conversation, my goal was not to try and do any like gotchas or be like, how could you do this or that? I wanted to have a conversation and try to understand where someone is coming from and, just have them be able to tell their story. And so that was my goal with this conversation. I think it ended up turning out pretty well. Candy was very open. She was completely okay to share whatever. And so I just, I wanted to preface this video with letting you know that that's kind of where my mindset was going into it. And yeah, but without further ado, enjoy the interview. Recording is started. All right.
Okay.
Candy, thank you so much for coming on the channel and agreeing to this interview. I'm like seriously so excited about this. I am probably as surprised as the people that might be watching this video, and I'm assuming you as well, that you...
Well, I'm thankful that you invited me. I mean, I always love a chance to talk about myself.
Yeah, we are YouTubers, right? I mean, that's our whole life is based on us thinking we're important enough for people to watch us, right?
Right.
So, okay, so Candy, your name on YouTube is Hungry Fat Chick. There's clearly a lot of people that are interested in what you do, who you are. There are a lot of people that have issues with what you do and who you are. There are a lot of people, myself included, that have made videos about that type of stuff. So that's clearly a big thing of, who you are and what you do. But before we get into the YouTube stuff and like where you are now, which I think is very interesting and I definitely want to get to, I do want to talk about like past, right? Because what I always say whenever I do these talks is I think that things that happened to us in our past really does shape where we are and who we are now, right? And in the future, right? And so I'm just kind of curious, like, were you always overweight growing up, or was there ever like a moment where you started gaining weight? Like, what was like your weight gain journey, I guess? Like, how was it for you? Like, what was that like?
Well, I'll give it to you. My parents were addicts when I was, very little, and I was basically feral. They were off doing their thing. And at one point, my mother, she went into treatment, and my father just gave me away to my grandparents. So they were raising me and or just trying to raise me. And I was a mess. And they placated me with food, she's crying, she's screaming, she's doing something, give her a cookie, give her some pie, give her some cake. So I blew up, by the time I was 9, I was just a little pumpkin. So actually, I think I went on my very first diet probably between 5 and 9. It was a 500 calorie a day diet. And then the next diet was like 800 calories. And basically I yo-yo dieted and starved myself, messed up my metabolism. And, I was just always big after that,
Yeah, it's interesting because I have not the same exact experience, but I mean, I grew up in a home where my mom and my dad, they were both drug addicts. I was very lucky in the situation where I ended up getting taken away from my mom with my other siblings at the time. And well, they're still my siblings, but we were taken away from my mom, and she actually got clean after about a year. And we were able to be put back with her, which I always wonder, like, it's crazy where I would have been if that didn't happen, right? And for me, I really think that, because I started gaining weight when I was really young as well. It was like I was always just bigger, right? Bigger. And I think a big reason my mom has told me that, like, she always felt this guilt for the, pain that she caused the family and herself and all this stuff and we were also very, very poor growing up. And so she couldn't afford to do much for us, but she could afford to get us like food, right? Or McDonald's. Yeah, exactly. And we used to go to
trips to McDonald's.
We used to literally go to Jack in the Box in the morning before school, right? Because it was like she just didn't really have time to cook because again she was so busy, but also like she felt good that she was able to do this thing that me and my brother really liked. Now he didn't
Yeah.
gain weight like I did, but again, it's interesting, right? Because there are those there's those similarities there. And so for you started gaining weight. Was there ever a time where you lost like a significant amount of weight? Because for me,
Oh,
when I never was able to lose a significant amount of weight. Like I would lose 5 or 10 pounds and then I would just give up because I would joke around with my friends and say like, oh, my metabolism doesn't exist, or like I just can't lose weight. It's impossible, right? I look at food and I gain weight. And so were you ever able to lose like a significant amount of weight, or like what was that like for you?
Not significant, but I think at one point I did like one diet plan that was like famous at the time, neutral, whatever. And I lost like 50, gave it back, and they brought friends. And later on, there was this thing called, it was like something that bodybuilders went to like put on muscle. They gave you these injections and whatnot. And basically it was like phentermine or whatever. And I lost like another like 50, 60 pounds, but gained it all back. And at that point in time, I got incredibly ill, ended up in a hospital. I was starving myself to death, like a cycle of binge purge. I would starve for a few days and then binge for a few days. And it was horrible. Yeah. And that was my high school trip, to the mental hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
not good.
That's the thing, like with weight gain and like struggling with your weight, I think like, and especially if it's been for an extended period of time, it's really hard to explain to people. And this is why I get kind of frustrated with people that just say, LOL, just lose weight, LOL, stop eating. Because it's like, to an extent, you're not wrong, right? Like if you want to lose weight, the science is you have to eat less calories than you burn, right?
Right.
Like that's the science. And like, that is how it works. I fully believe that, but we're not robots. And so it's not as simple as that. I wish it was. And if it was that simple, clearly it would, no one would be struggling with this. Right.
Right. I would have already changed my avatar. I'd be She-Hulk right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so it really is frustrating to me, especially because I struggle a little bit because obviously I was able to lose the weight, and like I am very, very grateful for that, and I'm super happy that I was able to do it. And so part of me, especially for a long time, I'm sorry I'm turning this into me, but whatever. But like for a long time I had this struggle where I really did believe like, well, if I can do it, anybody can. And it wasn't in a negative way where it was like, if you don't do it, you're lazy. But I just felt like truly nothing is special about me. So if I was able to do it, I truly didn't understand why other people couldn't, like it was like, it didn't make sense in my head. Like I was able to do this and I want other people to do it. But now I think I do understand a little bit more, not completely, but there is so much more to it than just the amount of calories someone is eating. Like that is scientifically, like if you're just looking at the weight, that is how you gain or lose, is by calories, the amount of calories that you're eating, unless you have other things going on, which there are a lot of people that do, right? Hormones and stuff like that.
It'll switch, that needs to be flipped at some point.
Exactly. And like when you are someone that has struggled with weight loss your whole life, it is so much more than just the numbers, like the numbers of the calories. It's like for a lot of people, it has become like your sense of it's like your security blanket. It's this thing that has always been there for you, like food, right? Going out to eat or whatever it might be. And so I understand that it's more difficult than just that. And so I've been like trying my best to try and how can I figure out a way to help people more, right? But I don't know. I'm talking about me too much, and that's not what this is about.
Okay.
And so so taking a step back, you said that you went to the mental hospital when you were in high school. Are you comfortable sharing any more about that story? So what exactly happened that got you there?
Well, at the time that I was going through the the binge purge phases. I was having blackouts at school, um, and just and on top of that, I was just very like anxious about going to school. Period. Just being around people and um, yeah, I thought I was becoming agoraphobic, and I just didn't want to be, where the people were. And it was an issue with my grandparents and myself as well, because yeah, I was asking for help. Basically, the depression had got me pretty strong at that point, and I had become suicidal. So that's what landed me in the mental hospital, was a serious suicide attempt.
Yeah.
And on top of like the depression and anxiety, they were treating me for an eating disorder. Yeah, like compulsive overeating. That was there. And I actually, I was like 180 pounds when I went into the hospital because of the weight that I lost, and I went out of the hospital at like 240. So the eating disorder program actually did not help me.
Yeah. It's
at all.
It's interesting because that's a lot of people, like when you talk about eating disorders, it seems like people have a very narrow view of what an eating disorder is, and a lot of people are like, oh, you're fat, how could you have an eating disorder? It's like, well,
yeah,
it's, again, there's like having an eating disorder isn't just not eating enough, right? There's a lot more that goes into it, and so yeah, it's just, yeah, that's
for me, that's a compulsion. It's like all day I'll tell myself, you don't want to do this, don't do it, don't get the food. And at some point the switch flips and the other person takes over, basically. And I'm like, I've ordered food, So, and then, the guilt follows. Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
Do I hate myself that much? And a part of me obviously does, somewhere in there. It's like a war for me.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's like, it's really hard because for a lot of people that struggle with their weight, I feel like we struggle with like self-worth and feeling like I'm really worth it. That's why a lot of times when I talk about my weight loss and stuff, I really don't like people saying that like, oh, it's because like I hated myself, because like, I mean, everyone is different, and I'm not going to say that's definitely not what it was. But when I look back, I think I've realized that it really was from a place of self-love, like me wanting to lose the weight and putting in the work, because it is hard, regardless of how much you know about weight loss and how much information you have or whatever. Like, it is hard. It's going to be hard. And so I had to do something that was really hard, but it was because I cared about myself enough. And another thing that I say is like, I didn't hate myself, but I hated what the fat had done to me, right? Like what it had turned me into. And so like, if you want to use hate, I would say like that was more what it was, not that I hated who I was, because like truly, like you said yourself, like if I really hated myself, I knew a way to destroy myself. It was just literally continue doing what I was doing already, Yeah. I'm really curious about, so obviously we talked a little bit about the past and stuff, so we're kind of taking a time skip here.
Okay.
So if there's anything really important, please feel free to say it. But curious about, Hungry Fat Chick, right? Like that is your online persona. It's obviously a big part of your life, I assume now.
Well, it is now. It is now.
I'm kind of curious.
It started differently.
Okay, yeah, well, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Like, how did it get started, and like, how did you get to where you are now? Because it's so interesting to me. It's so interesting.
Okay, well, I struggled with my weight. Obviously, ended up getting married at 18 at 240 pounds. Gained 100 pounds in the first year of marriage.
Really?
Just boom. He told me, he said, I love your fat, I love your fat ass, even if you got as big as a house. And I was like, oh, okay, sir. Free reign just to pack it in, So after that whole, it was like 10 and a half years I was married to Stella. And we ended up separating, and 2 weeks into the separation, I met what's called an FA, a fat admirer. And, he was a photographer, and he wanted to take pictures of my eyes. Yeah, really. So I ended up getting into the BBW adult content website stuff, and was doing that for quite a while. And probably about 2005 or so, I started doing eating content, because that actually made more money than the hard stuff, the hardcore stuff. So that's kind of where I was, up until I said, you know what? I ran across this whole mukbang thing on YouTube, and I was like, you know what? I could do that. And I was already burnt out on, the whole adult thing, and, people like drooling over me. And it's so weird to say, but that was the case. I was just bored with it, and I wanted to like break into the mainstream. So mukbang was, it seemed like the way in, and I just started doing it. And actually, several years before I found that, I started the channel Hungry-Fat-Chick. Didn't really do anything to it. It was kind of in my mind, okay, well, maybe I could get people to pay for food for me. It was just a stupid like plan I had. And I got bored with it like right away. I think I did like 2 like food review type videos. Those are like the first 2 videos on my channel. And I was like, okay, done with this. And I think 6 years went by before I found the mukbang thing. And I was like, okay, well, let's do this. And I did it. And I already had like 2,000 subscribers tucked away from, years of it just sitting there. I had tried several times to start a YouTube channel with my adult handle, and they kept getting taken down. And it was like, it's not like I was naked on there or anything, but, I had my belly out in one, and, I was walking down a little hallway that's kind of iconic at this point. Just an iconic scene. And yeah, that was like taken down immediately. So I was like, it's just a belly, you guys.
Yeah. Wow. That's
goodness.
Really, really interesting.
Really?
Yeah. That's so, there's so much that I think that can be gone over there. Obviously there's probably some stuff that can't be shared on YouTube, but
right. Definitely. I'm trying to be,
yeah, no. You're doing a great job kind of, like masking it a little bit,
Yeah. I try to be PG as much as possible now, or less.
Yeah.
So if possible.
How do you feel like, now that you have been doing YouTube for so long now, like, do you still feel like you like doing this more than what you were doing before?
Oh, definitely. Or I would do that. I still have the income coming from it, and I still have, the business. I have at least 2 places where I sell my wares. But I would make a heck of a lot more money if I would just put a little bit of effort into that. But I'm comfortable with my little YouTube situation for the most part. It's easy, and I don't have to do much. Just eat a meal and edit for like an hour.
It's YouTube.
Too easy.
It's not the hardest job in the world, if we're being honest here.
I made it easy.
Yeah, it's true. It's as hard as you want to make it, really, right? Like my videos aren't the most highly edited things either, because I am also don't want to edit forever. So
right.
So okay, so now I'm curious about, how has it been for you dealing with, because you're a YouTuber that is, I would say, controversial. I don't think it's even anything that you do explicitly. I don't want to go into other people, but I think there are other people that do it on purpose to get that type of reaction, right? But from what I have seen with the content that I've watched, it doesn't seem like that's what you're trying to do. It just seems like because of what you are doing, because let's be honest, right? You are an overweight individual that is eating massive amounts of food online, right? And so people are going to have an issue with that. And I think it's clear that you know that, and it's not like, whoa, what's such a surprise? I cannot believe this, right? And so how has it been for you dealing with like when people make a video about you, or when people have these maybe like assumptions, or they like have these like almost visceral reactions to the videos that you make, like what is that like for you? I'm just genuinely very curious.
Well, at one point, during my whole like stint in the public, I realized that just existing, I evoke a reaction to people, you know, whether it be positive, negative, you know, or whatever. But people are gonna feel stuff, you know. So I use that, you know, it gets me views, you know, just, you know, I could have like a massive amount of food in front of me, even if I only ate like 2 bites of everything, you know, just seeing it, they're like, oh my God, how could you eat that much? Did you watch the video, honey?
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's kind of an illusion, you know. And also the comments and whatnot, love me, hate me, whatever, it doesn't really matter to me, as long as I don't like get too deep into it, if I don't look at it too much. You know, sometimes it hurts my heart, you know. There's like little buzzwords, you know, that'll trigger me, and I'm like, oh no, 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 no. So, you know, I expect it. It's just, it comes with the territory.
Yeah.
And it always has, you know. Even in the adult realm, there were going to be people, you know, that didn't like what they saw. And it's like, well, I'm not for you, honey.
Yeah. So how do you feel when like there are other people that do similar things to you that just don't happen to be overweight, right? And they don't seem to get as much. I would say that there still are people that have issues with it, but it seems like there's definitely very different, like the amount of, I don't even want to call it hate, but the amount of attention and good or bad that you get versus someone that might not be as overweight. Like, how does that make you feel? Do you feel like it's fair? Do you have an opinion really on that very much?
I don't think it's so much a matter of fair or not. It's just is what it is, you know. And honestly, while, you know, other mukbangers might not get the same kind of attention, I got to look at it like this, you know. People are going to give other people crap. That's just how it is. And you could go like celebrities reading mean tweets. You know, people can just be a-holes. It don't matter if you're skinny, fat, whatever. You know, if you're in the public and somebody has an opinion, you know, they got to make it known. So, you know, they can have their opinions. It's fun.
And so, okay, yeah, I agree with that. And then, so what are your thoughts on, because this is something I've talked a lot about, because whenever I see people talking about your videos, or even to an extent like Nick Icato's videos, a little bit less on his, they'll say, we need to demonetize or deplatform or delete these channels because they are showing like something that's very dangerous. Like a more extreme will be like they're showing themselves, right? Like that's basically what this is, right? What do you think about those types of comments?
Those types of comments, you know, yeah, of course people are going to think that, but I mean, it's what's it? Freedom of speech, basically. You know, I mean, I have a right to exist. I have a right to my platform. You know, when they take me down, are they going to take all the skinny mukbangers down? I mean, you know, do they give the same kind of hate to everybody? No, they don't. You know, it's just me because I'm fat. You know, I'm doing the same thing as other people. You know. Yeah,
and what I've always said whenever I talk about, because I've talked about this question, because I understand where people are coming from. Like I get it, but at the same time, like think about it. Because who is ultimately going to be making this decision? It's YouTube, who is a private company. And so if they decide to, you know, delete your channel, delete Nick's channel, anyone that's like overweight that's doing mukbangs, it's like, at what point do they have to stop, or will they? Because the only way I would see it making any type of sense, which I don't see them doing this, but like the only way I can see is if they just banned eating like on camera.
Oh yeah,
right.
I mean, and that includes food reviews.
Yeah,
that includes competitive eating. You know, I mean, that's like multiple veins that they don't want to lose that money. You know, if you're going to take away eating, you know, it's not smart. I mean, plus, if I got deplatformed or whatever, I could just do the same exact thing on other platforms. and do just as well, you know,
Yeah.
potentially making way more money.
Yeah, I've just always felt like that's just it's more of a knee jerk reaction that I think once you
Yeah.
really, I feel like most people that have really put a lot of thought into it probably they don't come to that conclusion because it's
Hmm.
just it just doesn't make sense when you really think about like the nitty gritty
No.
details of what would have to happen there. I
Yeah.
personally just don't see that happening. Okay, so the other question that I think is really really interesting is clearly like on your channel you have shown that you're interested in trying to lose weight, right? Like that's something
Yes.
that you've been
Ooh,
trying to do obviously for for
the struggle.
yeah,
The struggle's real.
I get it. What is really interesting to me and what I'm sure that is not lost on you is like you're trying to lose weight, but then a lot of the content is whether or not you're eating all the food, it looks like
Hmm.
there's all of this
Yes.
food. And then I mean obviously you are eating some of it, and so that's going to
Hmm.
make like losing weight hard. So
Yeah.
what is that like for you? Like mentally, how does that
Ooh.
look? Like because I can't even imagine. So I'm just,
Well,
genuinely.
for me, if I could basically stay away from overeating like garbage when I'm not filming, I would be fine. I might actually start dropping weight. Um, but I'm able to maintain for the most part, so that's kind of okay. But yeah, it's like it can be hard. I mean, especially if I get a lot of food, and then I'm stuck eating that food for a couple of days. I don't just want to throw it away. So there's that. Um, yeah, it presents challenges for sure.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to really, really lose weight, I would have to like just really stop myself from ordering food when I'm not filming.
Mm-hmm.
Make mukbang. That's my cheat for the week. Or for like I have to mukbang twice a week. So if there's leftovers, then that carries over and impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why I was kind of curious. So during the week, you do
Mhm.
the two mukbangs, and obviously you order like a lot of food, probably more than I would
Or,
assume
yeah.
that you would order like if you weren't filming it, right? And
Hmm.
so during the rest of the week, do you like what do you what at least in your head do you try and like plan things out? Do you? I'm assuming that you probably order out quite a bit, and
I
so.
do. I do at this point because I have hip issues.
Mm,
So just going in the kitchen, just I have a stool in the kitchen and just sitting on the stool for half an hour. I suffer for at least 2 days just from sitting on a stool. Um, it's horrible. So I end up ordering food. Like say, last yesterday, for instance, I had leftover chicken from a mukbang. So I ate like 2 pieces of chicken that I had left over for breakfast. And it got late in the evening. I'm like, I'm hungry. What am I going to do? So I order Chinese food,
mm,
and I can split that up for the next day or two.
mm-hmm.
You know? So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah. Have you ever now these are just questions that I have like in
Hmm.
my head, and because these are things that I have brought up in videos, and I'm
Hmm.
just curious like someone that's actually doing it, like what they think about it, if it's just like John, you're an idiot, that wouldn't work. But like a lot of times people say as well in my videos like they should just do mukbangs of healthy food, right? Like eat a salad. Like
Yeah.
if
It'd be
you
nice.
have you ever tried that, or what are your thoughts of like if I tried that this is probably what would happen, like what goes through your
Well,
head
I
with
already
something like
know. I
that?
have tried it. I mean, I've mukbanged like pho, which is basically, just noodle soup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Salads. I've done salads. I've done fruit, things like that. And they just don't get the kind of views that fast food does.
Mm-hmm.
I was just the other day, I was like, oh, I'm going to do pho today. I want to eat something healthy, just something to make my system feel good. Uh, and I was thinking about it and I'm like, I haven't quite hit my financial quota for the month yet. So let me just slap a Jollibee up
Yeah.
there. So that's how that went.
Yeah. I mean, and that's true though. Like that's real life, right? Like
I
when
need a certain amount of money a month
when
to be able to survive.
yeah, and like when YouTube is your job, right? It is
Hmm.
like views. It does equal money. It might not. It's
Hmm.
different for everybody, right? Because everyone's
Right.
CPMS and everything are different. Which people watching this video aren't gonna know what that means. But, like more views pretty much almost always means more money, right? And so
Hmm.
this is like stuff that I say with anyone because that's like something that people bring up all the time when they talk about your videos or just any videos, right? Like someone that's doing similar stuff is like, they should just do healthy, like people would watch it. I'm like, I'm telling you right now, if that actually happened, I'm telling you right now, a YouTuber would know and they would do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, it clearly isn't. That's not what's getting the views, and so it's tough. It really, really is tough.
Yeah. The mukbangers said, well, the the views come because people want to eat what you're eating, and a lot of the time, basically 75% of my viewership is women between 25 and 35,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around that range. And you know what's going on there? They're dieting, they're self-loathing, and it's like, I wish I could eat that, but I'm sitting here, eating my salad.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, honey, but I'll do it for you.
Yeah. Well,
I got
that really is what it is. Like I have friends that do them, and like a lot of the people that watch those videos, they might even be prepping for like a bodybuilding show, right, or
Yeah.
something where they really have to restrict a lot, and so seeing someone eat that type of food, it like makes them feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Candidly, I've never really liked watching. I don't like watching people eat. I whenever I'll do a like reaction on my channel, I usually like, kind of skip through just because it doesn't matter who it is. I don't even like eating on camera because I've had people like make weird comments to me and I'm like, all right, y'all are going too far here. But again, like obviously, like just because I don't understand it doesn't mean that clearly there's an audience for it.
I'm food obsessed. Back in the day when Food Network first came out, I was on that. I watched that every single day, all day. And even before that, there were the cooking shows on PBS, just anything to do with food. And then I found mukbang and,
Yeah.
People eating the food didn't matter to me. I was just looking at the food and imagining the tastes and the textures and the smells and,
No, I used to be the same exact way, and it's weird because I don't know, and again, this is one of those things that like I wish I could explain it, and I wish I knew how I got to where I am now, because like my diet and the stuff that I eat similar stuff like every day, right? But I used to be the same way. Like I used to watch Food Network. Some of my favorite shows were Good Eats and Unwrapped. Like I loved both of those shows, and I would try and watch Top Chef, but it came on a little bit later in the day, and I would always end up falling asleep before it ended, so I never know who won. But I used to be like that. Like I used to watch the Food Network. That was my favorite channel, and now food for me, I don't think about it that much. I really don't. I just kind of eat the same things over and over and over again. And some people might say, hey, that's a problem and that's an issue. But for me, it's what's worked for me. And I never feel like I am missing out on anything. Because whenever I bring up like, hey, I've eaten the same dinner almost for many years now, people are like, oh my God, I could never do that. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't think anything of it. It's just food. Like whatever.
Have you developed different like obsessions? Like what is your passion now, obviously?
Yeah. So this is something that I think I learned about you from my partner who works with me that does a lot of like research. So you have ADHD as well, right?
Yes.
So I do too, and it's like I was diagnosed when I was a young kid. Like I've had it my entire life. And so I have hyper-fixations like up the wazoo. It changes all the time. Okay. And so I think for me, actually, really interestingly, when I lost weight, I think I became hyper-fixated on losing weight, which I think that's one of those things that why I don't understand. And I wish I could explain it to people and be like, this is the thing that helped me. And I understand that like hyperfixation, the way that I explain it is like a superpower, but it's a superpower that like has a ton of disadvantages as well, right? It's like it's awesome when it is something that is good for you, like for me, the weight loss, but a lot of times it makes everything else in your life kind of fall apart, right?
Right.
And so I wasn't focusing on anything else other than weight loss, which for me at the time was kind of what I needed to do, and it worked out for me. But like I have these obsessions, like it'll be right now it's art. So I'm like addicted to like drawing and trying to create art. And it's been like skateboarding, it's been video games, it's been drumming, it's been so many things over my life. And so, yeah, I think that that's been like something that I obviously know that not everybody has, but I think has helped me, but also has hurt me a lot in the past as well. And so, yeah, it's funny that you asked that question because that was something that I did want to bring up with you.
Yeah. So food is my big obsession right now, and I don't really have any other things that I'm interested in at this point. I mean, of course, I watch all my stories, TV, books, movies, and things like that. But yeah, if I could find a new obsession, I'd be aces.
Yeah. So okay, so now I kind of want to talk about like the future and like for you, what do you like? Do you want to lose weight? And if you do, like, is there like in your head, this would be the perfect situation for me to do that? Have you thought about anything like that? Because I remember I used to like, I used to think about stuff like that all the time.
It would be a perfect situation. And it's so funny, like I don't really think about food for most of the day, and then at some point I'm like, okay, I'm hungry, I better start thinking about it, and then that's when it hits me. And that's when the obsession starts and the menu like browsing. But when I had somebody staying here for a little while, I had a friend staying over. I'd go all day and he'd be like, do you want a sandwich? I'd be like, sure, I want a sandwich. And then he'd fix a sandwich and some chips or whatever. And that would basically be all I ate, So another person that's actually, kind of helping me focus elsewhere, other than focusing on food was helpful. And it's like, I don't have that, I don't have other distractions, and where I lived before living on my own, I was living with another morbidly obese, food obsessed person. It was not good. It's not good for that. And yeah, she worries about me and stuff, but I'm like, I don't want to make it easy on myself, the struggles that I have living alone, they're my struggles. But yeah, I need a personal chef.
Yeah, trust me. I used to say the same exact thing. And
a trainer, encourage me to get out and do something. Let's go for a walk. Let's go out of the houses. But just left to my own devices, I'm just gonna sit here and watch my TV, and I'll order some food or grab something out of the fridge or whatever. But definitely want to. I have it in my head, and I say over and over again, I'm trying to visualize my avatar and how I want my avatar to be, and I'll focus on my actual frame inside of all of this. And it's like, how do I want it to be, and trying to connect the dots. How do I get there? But first of all, I've got to beat whatever kind of, demon or whatever that's in my head that's like sabotaging me every time I even attempt it. And it's like, what is in there? And therapy's not working.
Yeah.
It's not working.
Yeah. So I do want to say, if it is something that you really want to do, this is less, interview, but more me trying to just, level with you. Like, I do believe that you can do it. I really do believe that anybody can. Just because I believe it doesn't mean I have the answers. I wish I could be like, here, this is what you need to do. I'm not so full of myself that I think I have all the answers. I know that I don't. I know that I am just a guy on YouTube that claims he's a doctor who's not really a doctor. Okay. And so, but I do believe in you. I mean, there are tons of options that are, people might not consider, natural, whether that's an injection or, ones that are not as intense as maybe the stuff that you were doing before, but like there's surgeries and stuff like that. Obviously I'm not a fan of surgery either. It scares me, but like there are options where if you feel like maybe the willpower just on your own isn't there, like I
Mhm.
again, I don't want to encourage you to do anything, but like, it's
Mhm.
worth looking into. I personally believe, and this is what I've always said on my channel, like I don't think that anybody is too far gone, no matter how much you might think
Mhm.
someone is.
Yeah.
I think anybody I mean, everybody is worth saving, but anybody
Mhm.
has that spark in them. And I've always said, like, I don't think there's anything special about me, and I really mean
Mhm.
that. Um, but I just think that I had that, what I called my click moment, that worked for me,
Mhm.
right?
That's what I'm
And
looking for. It's like, come on,
yeah,
stop it,
yeah.
Candy.
I think like if I'm being 100% like realistic, right? If I'm just saying,
Mhm.
hey, why is Candy struggling, right?
Mhm.
Like if you were to ask me, why do you think I'm struggling? I don't think anything I'm going to say here you're going to be like, wow, I never thought of that. Like
Right.
I think, but like clearly you are in a position where your job makes the act of losing weight, I would say, almost impossible. And I don't mean to
Right.
say that to make you feel discouraged, because that's definitely not what I'm trying to do. But if I'm just being
Mhm.
realistic, right? If you came to me and said,
Mhm.
hey, John, I need help. What do I need to do? I'd be like, well, these things that you're doing obviously are not going to help that. But again, I
Right.
don't think that you're like, what? I've never thought of that. Clearly you're a very smart person. It's clear that you have thought about this stuff. But like, I think that, like I said, like I think anybody can do it, but obviously like the situation that you're in, and again, this is why I was so excited to have this conversation, because I make videos about this stuff all the time, right? About people
Mhm.
that are trying to lose weight online, and the different struggles that each person has. Obviously yours is very specific, and you have your own
Mhm.
things, but again, like it is very interesting. And like I just, again, like if you have any questions, please feel free before we end. But
Mhm.
I just wanted to say, like, I really, really, really seriously appreciate you coming on here. Like, this was a lot of fun. Hopefully, you enjoyed it as much as
Yeah.
I did.
I love
Um,
talking to
yeah,
myself.
yeah. But I seriously, I really, really do appreciate it.
Mhm. Thank you.